What is up, everybody? Welcome to the MMA Engine. This is the main event deep dive for UFC Austin. We have Calvin Kattar going against Josh Emmett, a 5-round banger. Cannot wait to talk about it. I'm here as always with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to this main event?
Yeah, great fight, great card. I can't believe you're lucky enough to be going to this card because it's going to be fire from top to bottom. I mean, you even got Maria de Oliveira making her long-awaited return here. Just a little bump in the road, that Tabitha Ricci fight for her. She's going all the way to the top. So you got some good prospects on this card. You got some warriors squaring off against each other, and then the main event, Calvin Kattar, the Boston finisher, up against the other coast there with Josh Emmett coming out of Team Alpha Male. Can't wait to break it down with you guys.
Man, this main event is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait for it. Before we get started, as always, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe here to the MMA Engine, and just want to thank you guys for helping us hit 1,000 subscribers. We did it in about 4 months, so it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for the support. It does mean a lot and goes a long, long way. And we're going to keep the channel growing and keep bringing a lot of content. The website is going to be out very soon as well. Lots of great things to come. We got Papa Chuck, first one in the chat. What is up, Papa Chuck? We got Brandon in the chat, Philip, Danny Sue. We got Chris in the chat, Victor, Roy. We have Rob in the chat as well. Paul Pierce hanging out. Thank you all for hanging out here on a Monday with me and everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Weezy. I say we get started, and let us start, as always, with the tail of the tape. And we have Calvin Kattar, 34 years old. He's 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Josh Emmett, 37 years old, 5'6" with a 70-inch reach. Calvin Kattar, 3 years younger. Kattar with a 5-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage as well. So tail the tape in favor of Kattar there. Kattar is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss to Zabit, a knockout win against Jeremy Stephens, a decision win against Dan Ige, a decision loss to Max Holloway, a decision win against Giga Chikadze his last time out in a very fun fight as a dog there as well. Josh Emmett, he has 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a knockout loss to Jeremy Stephens, a knockout win against Michael Johnson, a knockout win against Mirsad Bektic, a decision win against Shan Burgos, and then a decision win against Dan Ige. So yeah, Weezy, should be a very fun fight here. Anything sticking out to you in the tail of the tape? Pretty big favor advantage there for Kattar there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to love that. Being 3 years younger than a 37-year-old, that's something that's probably statistically significant right there. A 2-inch reach advantage is statistically significant, and a 5-inch height advantage, as far as we know. I wouldn't be surprised if Kattar was even a little bit taller than 5'11". He's a big, big featherweight. So yeah, we love what we're seeing there in the tail of the tape. And then you go just down one notch below that, and you got the experience advantage for Kattar as well. 9 more professional fights, 105 more minutes in the pro cage, about 3.5 more years as a pro. I'm sorry, 4 more years as a pro. And then they have the same amount of UFC fights, and he's got about 25 more minutes in the pro cage, does Calvin Kattar. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry about that. And then even when we look at the finishing stats, Brady, Calvin Kattar with a slight edge there as well, as he's a 57% finisher over 23 career wins. And we got Josh Emmett with only a 47% finish rate over 17 career wins. So I was kind of surprised to see Emmett's finish rate that low. A guy that's landed 11 knockdowns in 6 fights, in the UFC, is really only finished less than half of his wins inside the distance, only 3 of 8. So Josh Emmett, a guy who's known for his power, but that power isn't translating into finishes like you would expect it to when you're putting up the kind of video game like knockdown numbers that Josh Emmett's putting up. So it's a very interesting stylistic matchup here, but we like Kattar for the tail of the tape. We like Kattar for the pro experience. We even like Kattar with a small edge here for the UFC experience. And he's even finishing at a better rate at the UFC level, as he's finished 4 of his 7 wins inside the distance by knockout. And for Josh Emmett, it's 3 of his 8 wins. So, and then we have Emmett has been finished once at the UFC level in 2 losses, and Calvin Kattar has only been finished once in his career. It was by submission, and it was pre-UFC. So we haven't seen Calvin Kattar finished yet at the UFC level.
Yeah, and that's what makes this fight so interesting to me. We have Josh Emmett with some of the most power you'll see in the division, and then you have Calvin Cater, who's literally absorbed over 1,000 significant strikes and still has not went down. And yeah, I noticed that as well. Not a ton of finishes from Josh Emmett, which is very rare considering the guy hits like an absolute truck. I was taking a look at his career earlier outside the UFC. The majority of his fights do come at like some catch weights, like 165. I saw a bunch of 155 fights. A couple featherweight fights there earlier, like really early in his career. But then it was kind of like either catch weight or lightweight. And then, just as the last, like, I think like 5 or 6 fights, he's been back at featherweight. And since he's been back at featherweight, the guy's gotten knocked down in each and every single one of those fights. So, yeah, that's what makes his fight so fun. Like Calvin Cater, this guy has an unreal chin, and Josh Emmett has this unreal power. So I think it's gonna be fun. But yeah, Calvin Cater is actually the better finisher, which is very interesting.
Very interesting, and I just wanted to look because I had no idea who finished Calvin Cater in his career, and the guy who finished Calvin Cater was James Binky Jones. Brady, 16-16 record. This fight where Calvin Cater got finished took place in 2008. How old were you?
Like 10.
That's the last time that Calvin Cater got finished as a pro fighter. It's been that long. So, yeah, we've got 2 incredibly durable guys here. We got 2 incredibly hard hitters. And now we get to talk about the striking stats, which are very exciting for this particular fight, man.
Yeah, shout out to James Binky Jones, currently 52 years old. I'd like to see him run it back and see Calvin Cater get his revenge.
They got to bring him up for one fight so we can avenge the only finish of his career, which took place, I think, 5 fights into his pro career back in 2008. So, these guys are G's. They're absolute G's. And then we can look at these striking numbers and see what these guys are made of, right? Calvin Cater has the look of a guy who loses minutes on the feet and does nothing but lose minutes. So the numbers are a little bit deceiving here, but they are the truth. 5.19 significant strikes landed per minute is fantastic. But 7.64 significant strikes absorbed per minute is absolutely atrocious. That is not how you win fights long term. But Calvin Cater trusts his chin, and a lot of those absorbed strikes did come at the hands of Max Holloway, who I think landed something like 455 significant strikes against Calvin Cater, if I'm not mistaken. So, we could see what a big percentage of the strikes that he's absorbed that is. But 41% striking accuracy. We've got 5 knockdowns in 761 significant strikes landed and 10 fights. So he's averaging 0.51 knockdowns per 15 minutes, and he's landing a knockdown in about 2/3% of the significant strikes that he lands. 52.56% striking defense is not very good, but like we see, 1,120 significant strikes absorbed. He's never been knocked down. So this is going to be, the immovable object against the irresistible force here, because a guy like Josh Emmett, who's landed 11 knockdowns on only 513 significant strikes landed, that's over 2% of the significant strikes that he's landing, result in a knockdown. So, when you run those numbers, it kind of tells you, let me see, like we could do 1 divided by 0.0214. And that tells us that Josh Emmett needs to land about 47 significant strikes. And on average, if he lands 47 strikes, odds are he's got a knockdown. That's the percentage of that's the percentage of strikes that are resulting in a knockdown for Josh Emmett. Tells us mathematically that he needs about 47 significant strikes to land before he knocks you down. So crazy power here. And we see that Cater is just 2% more accurate standing up than Josh Emmett is. And Josh Emmett is showing a 63% striking defense thus far in the UFC, which is absolutely phenomenal. And he's only been knocked down once in 10 UFC fights. So these guys have absorbed about 1,600 significant strikes in their combined UFC careers and only been knocked down once. They're both incredibly durable here. But it's that power for Emmett. But when we look at the tape, Brady, we see Calvin Cater just being a really crisp boxer, a guy who uses his jab to set up everything. He's very heavy on that lead leg, And one guy that we've seen have a lot of success in the striking exchanges against Calvin Kattar was Renato Moicano, who was going to those low leg kicks quite a bit. And because Calvin Kattar is a boxer who relies on his jab so much, because he's so heavy on his lead leg, we saw Kattar really have problems with that type of a game plan. But then in the Lamas fight, 2 fights later, we saw Kattar check one leg kick, land a jab off that checked leg kick, and it changed the entire trajectory of the fight. And then we saw him knock out Lamas about 90 seconds after he checked the first leg kick. So, I don't know what Calvin Kattar's, weaknesses are on the feet right now. Josh Emmett's not Max Holloway. He's not that good of a boxer. He's a power guy who throws 100% power into every strike that he throws. And because of that, he's not carrying the power as well into the third round as some other people who usually are like Kattar, in that they will be attritionally focused. They will be landing that jab and setting up all their strikes behind the jab. Emmett's really just throwing that big overhand right, usually setting it up with a jab first. But if it doesn't land heavily, usually he's going to lose minutes on the feet. And I think that's what we see here. Kattar is a fantastic boxer. If you throw out the Holloway fight, he still absorbs more significant strikes per minute than he lands. But we see the power that he's landing with, and when he hurts you, he swarms. So that's why every time he knocks somebody down, he finishes them. But it's not quite like that for Emmett.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the one thing that concerns me about Kattar in this spot is, he's definitely willing to eat some shots. I mean, the guy does absorb 7.64 per minute. And like you said, the majority of that is from the Holloway fight. But even then, you go and look at a lot of his other fights, like he's getting outlanded. He got outlanded 116-41 against Moicano. He got outlanded by Shane Burgos before he knocked him out as well. He was even outlanded by Jeremy Stevens up until he knocked him out. So, the willingness to eat a punch for Kattar definitely concerns me with the power of Josh Emmett. But yeah, I agree. I think on the feet, Calvin Kattar should be having a lot of success, especially considering he's going to be much, much bigger. And what I like about Kattar is he's very long as well. He's going to have a reach advantage, a height advantage. And I love the combinations from Kattar as well. And on top of that, we have seen him go into that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. And I don't think cardio is going to be an issue here. Whereas with Emmett, I feel like it definitely could be. So, I guess the big question is, can Emmett land that big shot? Can Emmett be the first one to ever knock down Kattar in the UFC? And it's a tough question because, Josh Emmett, this guy's power is legit. In his last 7 fights, 11 knockdowns. He's on a 7-fight streak where he's landed at least 1 knockdown. Like that, you just don't hear about that in the featherweight division all too often. So, I think the minute winner is going to be Calvin Kattar here, but Josh Emmett can definitely turn this fight around at any moment, especially early on.
Yeah, and and the statistics don't really, bear out that analysis, but that I feel the exact same way, because you look at that 5.19 landed and 7.64 absorbed. That's not the striking ratio of a minute winner. But when you go and you watch the tape on Kattar, he can trade with you and he can trust his chin. But once he starts to really kind of find that range, once that jab starts popping your head back, then he starts setting up the combinations. He'll go to the body. He'll throw that lead uppercut, and that lead uppercut that Kattar throws is absolutely scary, man. It is so nasty. And then, like I say, the finishing power of Kattar is really something to behold here. This is going to be, like I say, a striking fight. I don't really see either of these guys going to the wrestling that much. And if we were to look at here, can you bring up the advanced stats, Brady? I just want to show you guys something here in the control time numbers.
Yep.
For Kattar and Emmett. If we go to this first row here for Kattar's stats, we can see that against Giga Chikadze, he had 222 seconds of control time there. And then look at that. Every other fight below that, neither fighter ever gets to 100 seconds of control time. Kattar's a master of keeping the fight standing. And then if you go down to Emmett's numbers, it's very much the same. There's the Scott Holtzman fight where Emmett got 8 takedowns on Holtzman, but still on 8 takedowns was only able to manage 240 seconds of control time, and he gave up 195. And against Aranch, he had 165 seconds of control time, but only one takedown. That control time came on 4 knockdowns.
Yep.
So neither one of these guys is really using control time to win minutes with their wrestling, with their takedowns, even with their clinch control. It's just not their game. I think the numbers really do bear out, Brady, that this is going to take place in the center of the cage, and it's going to be a boxing match.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Josh Emmett, like you said, there's been like one fight where he went out there and wrestled, and it was against Scott Holtzman. Other than that, he got a takedown against Burgos. But yeah, not really anything else. So outside of that Holtzman fight, we have not seen Josh Emmett go to his wrestling. And honestly, I don't think I'd be shocked if he did, and especially in a 5-round fight here against Calvin Kattar. For one, Calvin Kattar's takedown defense is very good, 89%. And for two, I mean, is Josh Emmett going to have the cardio to wrestle Calvin Kattar for 25 minutes? Strong lean towards no. So I'm right there with you. I think this fight is primarily going to play out on the feet. I'd be shocked if Josh Emmett came in here with a game plan to wrestle in a 5-round fight.
Yeah, and you just said it perfectly there, Brady. I mean, let's say that he does come out and wrestle. Well, we already know what Josh Emmett looks like. He is a guy who he's got a good gas tank, but when you throw 100% force into every one of your strikes, that's not the kind of style that lends itself to cruising for 15 or even 25 minutes and winning decisions. You are trying to take your opponent's head off. And when you're doing that, if you start to mix in wrestling too, you're going to gas out even quicker. And it's not like we've seen Josh Emmett death gas in the UFC cage. That really hasn't happened. But you see that mouth wide open midway through the second round because he's landing such huge shots. And I'll tell you something, if you go back and you watch that Felipe Aranch fight, Josh Emmett lands 4 knockdowns in the first round on Aranch. And it was his featherweight debut. And you could tell the first time he hit him behind the ear that Aranch took about a half second to react, and then he just went down. And I mean, what I saw when I saw that knockdown was like, holy shit, man, this dude hits different for a featherweight. He looks like he's got a roll of nickels in his hand because people are just falling down when you could tell that. I mean, he knocked him down 4 times in the first round and didn't finish him. Every time you could tell that Aranch's body was used to being hit at a certain level of force by a featherweight. And then Emmett stepped into that cage, and that level of force was, cranked up so high that he wound up going down almost every damn time that Emmett hit him flush. So the guy absolutely does hit differently, but you can't push a wrestling heavy game plan and carry that kind of power late in fights. It's just not mathematically possible, especially for somebody like Emmett who has that much muscle on his frame. And then we can see that the numbers actually bear that out, Brady. 10 fights for Emmett, 21 takedown attempts. And I believe, if we go back here to the advanced stats, that 12 of those takedown attempts and 8 of those takedowns are against the Scott Holtzman fight. So he's 2 for 9 on takedowns in his other 9 fights. So we know that Josh Emmett's not somebody that's committing to the wrestling here. And we could see in the control time numbers for both of these guys, right? 8.18% control time for, 3.69% control time against. So that's over 88% of Josh Emmett's fights are taking place at striking range. And for Calvin Kattar, it's even more. 4.05% control time for, less than 2% control time against, and 89.5% takedown defense for Kattar. So Kattar is one of these specialist fighters, and a striker can be a specialist when they keep the fight on the feet. And look at what he's doing. 98.5% of the fights of his 146 minutes in the UFC cage, he's not being controlled by his opponent. So that is a great spot to be in when you are a pure striker like Calvin Kattar is. I'm not saying that he doesn't have a grappling game. Obviously, he does. He's a mixed martial artist, but he prefers to keep fights standing, and he has the skill set to make that happen. So we see that Calvin, 5 takedowns in 10 fights, less than 0.51 takedowns per 15 minutes, a little over 1 takedown per 15 minutes for Emmett. But, like we said, it's a 5-round fight. I don't think either one of these guys is trying to wrestle here unless they're maybe wrestling in the last 30 seconds of a close round that they're trying to get that last 30 seconds, get that late takedown, swing the judges in their favor in that round. But that's really the only way I see wrestling taking place in this fight. And I'd be shocked if either one of these guys committed to the wrestling at all.
Yeah, it'd be a big surprise to me as well. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Charles saying that Josh Emmett might be the youngest looking 38-year-old on the planet. I don't know. With Josh Emmett, it seems he looks young, but at the same time he looks old. It's like weird to explain.
He's bald too, so he does look like he could be a little bit older, but I mean, like his body, you don't see a lot of 37-year-olds with that, 4% body fat and yoked like that, so yeah, he can look young and old at the same time, kind of like that Gregory Rodriguez also on this card. Man, that Brazilian, 49-year-old that says I'm 26.
Yeah, just like Francisco Trinaldo is only 42.
Oh my God, yeah, 58 if he's a day old, man.
Unbelievable. Headley one saying Emmett might tire out from throwing heat in rounds 1 to 3. Also saying under 4.5 is plus money. We'll talk about those lines pretty soon. Here we got MMA Code saying, "Oi, what is up?" MMA Code. Kattar is tough AF. Yeah, absolutely. And the stats show how tough he is. If you're not sure on how tough Calvin Kattar is, go watch the Max Holloway fight back. Like, my goodness, this guy ate what was the exact number? Was it 495? Yeah, 445.
455. I've got it right here though on the advanced stats. So let's look. 445, dude. 445 strikes absorbed in 1,500 seconds. My God.
It's crazy. Just crazy.
Wow.
Headley one saying fight doesn't go decision is plus money. Emmett wins in round 1 plus 1,100 on FanDuel. Headley one saying seems like Emmett early, Calvin Kattar late. Zero saying Emmett always gets knockdowns. Absolutely. Brandon saying, is Josh the hardest hitting 145er in the UFC? I'd say currently, yes. Jeremy Stevens is no longer fighting. Is there another 145 pounder that hits harder than Emmett as of now, Weezy?
No, Emmett and Stevens, I would say, are the two guys that really bring the most power. And I think the third and fourth place is like Giga and Jordan. They've got a lot of knockdowns as well. But yeah, it's Kattar. I mean, I'm sorry. It's Emmett that reigns supreme, and then I believe Jeremy Stevens had something like 15 knockdowns in the U. I mean, just an absurd amount of knockdowns. And it was somebody was saying in there that Kattar hasn't faced a big puncher. Not true, man. He's faced Jeremy Stevens. That's the guy at 145 that's got lead in his hands. So and he knocked him out. And we'll talk about the MMA math when we talk about the strength of schedule.
Yeah, I mean, Stevens has a ton of power. Giga, that guy has some power. Ige has some power. Burgos has some good power as well. So he's faced some guys with some good power, but Josh Emmett, it does have a ton of power as well. So let's look at these strength of schedule stats, and then we'll get into some odds, Weezy.
For sure. Okay, so we see a 1.8 ratio for Calvin Kattar overall and a 1.28 for Emmett, and they were both facing just as experienced of fighters here with 13.7 fights on average. So, overall, we got a nice little advantage here for Kattar as the record, the average record of the guy that he's facing is 8.8 wins, 4.9 losses, and the average guy that Josh Emmett faces 7.7 wins, 6 losses. And when we go to the wins, we see that they're almost identical. 1.53 ratio for Kattar, 1.54 for Emmett, just a little more experienced competition for Kattar. And then in the losses, it's actually Kattar who's got the better losses because I think there's a loss in there, yes, to Jeremy Stevens for Josh Emmett. So that's a guy with a losing record in the UFC. So he's actually losing to competition with a less than 1 win-to-loss ratio, which is interesting. Maybe was the other guy Michael Johnson? Who's the other guy to beat Emmett? I've got it here.
No, Emmett beat Michael Johnson.
Okay, so he lost to Desmond Green. That was a weird loss.
Yeah.
But Des Green was a weird fighter that could, a good wrestler who could win some control time positions. He'd gotten a takedown, and he outlanded him 57-41. So That's the only other loss that he's had at the UFC level. But yeah, the losses are to Stevens and Green, while for Kattar, the losses are to Holloway, Zabit Magomed-Shapirov, who retired undefeated from mixed martial arts, and Renato Moicano, who kind of was the first one to say, you know what, this guy's a boxer. I'm going to kick his legs. And we saw him, Kattar really not have an answer to that. The first time we saw somebody kind of confuse him in there. But the wins over Chikadze, Ige, Jeremy Stevens, Ricardo Lamas, Fishgold, and then the first two wins, this guy comes in and he beats Fili and Shane Burgos in his first two fights as a UFC fighter. So really impressive strength of schedule here for Calvin Kattar. So I would definitely give him the edge. And I think it's really important to note that these guys have 4 of the same opponents. They've both fought Holloway. They've both fought Ige. They've both fought Jeremy Stevens. And they've both fought, I'm sorry, they haven't both fought Holloway. They both fought Ige, Stevens, Lamas, and Burgos. Now, Kattar beat Burgos by knockout in the 3rd round. Kattar beat Lamas by knockout in the 1st round. Kattar beats Jeremy Stevens by knockout in the 2nd round. And Kattar beats Dan Ige by unanimous decision. And then we see that Josh Emmett also beats Ricardo Lamas by 1st round knockout. He also beats Shane Burgos by unanimous decision. He beats Dan Ige by unanimous decision, and he loses to Jeremy Stevens. So Kattar looked better against Ige than Emmett did, and he looked way better against Stevens than Emmett did. So even a little bit of MMA math leans us towards the Kattar side as well here.
Yep, all good points there. Let us say, sorry, my something in my throat. Got it. All right, so let's take a look at the odds here. We have Calvin Kattar opened up -170, is currently -235. Josh Emmett opened up +145. He's currently +200. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. Obviously, if you're betting Calvin Kattar, you're worried about that Josh Emmett power, that Josh Emmett knockout. I guess you can hang your hat on that Calvin Kattar's never been knocked out before, never been knocked down before. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be running to the window to lay this price tag on Kattar. But I do see why he's favored, though. I think he should be the minute winner on the feet. I do like him as the fight goes on as well. Weezy, any thoughts on this line here on Kattar, Emmett?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a little bit wide, but the thing about Emmett is that, we do really have to. I don't really see him winning minutes on the feet against Calvin Kattar. Kattar's going to be popping out that jab. He's going to have that 2-inch reach advantage. He's going to be the bigger dude here. And while Emmett's, 1-2 is pretty fast, Kattar's pretty good. He's pretty defensively responsible. So I feel like while this is on the feet, that Kattar is going to be really styling on Emmett. And, when he lands heavy, he puts you out. So I think that Calvin Kattar is going to finish him, to be honest with you. But, I think fight doesn't go to decision is actually a pretty decent look here for where it's sitting. But, yeah, I'm leaning Kattar, but I have a feeling he finishes this fight, Brady.
Yep, I had the same feeling as well. And yeah, I agree. I mean, Calvin Kattar, not only I like his striking, but I like the fact that he's going to be so much bigger as well. I think that's going to play a huge factor in this fight. How long he is as well. I think I like that as well for Calvin Kattar. So yeah, we'll take a look at the over under. The over under set at 4.5 rounds. The over 4.5 is -140. The under 4.5 is +110. And then the fight goes to decision -125. The fight doesn't go to decision is -105. The fight doesn't go is plus money there on FanDuel Sportsbook at +102. And yeah, I think I'd lean towards that fight doesn't go as well, especially at plus money. You have two guys who hit very, very hard. We have a 5-round fight where I don't expect like any clinching. I don't expect like any takedowns, really. I think they're just going to stand and bang and go to war for 25 minutes. And with the power of these two, I think there's a good chance somebody does get put out here.
Yeah, me too, man. And I'm going to take a look at my 5-round fight database here in a minute. But right now I'm going to FanDuel because I saw BA in the chat say that Kattar 4-5 decision might be a great way to look at this fight. Because, Kattar is an attritional striker, and it's not like we're seeing people go out there and starch Emmett. that left hook that Jeremy Stevens knocked Emmett out with knocks out Calvin Kattar. Okay, it was an absolutely perfect shot, full power, right on the tip of the chin. You know, anybody gets slept by that one. So I don't really think we put too much credence into that. You know, I mean, Emmett's very tough and he's very durable. So right now for the round props or how the fight will end, I always forget. I think it's the round props where we can find those.
It's Kattar 4-5 decisions -105.
-105, yeah. And then Kattar 1-2-3 is +320. So at -105, I don't like it as much as I just like Kattar inside the distance at like +240, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I do think that Kattar probably gets it done inside the distance here, but I am leaning pretty heavily here on the Kattar side.
Yeah, let's see what the chat's saying. But yeah, BA saying that 4-5 decision. Bank it. Marlo's saying funny. There is a 6-inch height difference, but the reach is just 2 inches. Yeah, but Kattar like fights like I feel like his reach is longer than 2 inches. That kind of surprised me when I saw that because Kattar looks a lot longer than it's showing there.
Well, it's that wrestler's back that Emmett has. You know, they go out and up, you know, so that actually helps your reach advantage because the reach includes the area between the shoulders. So when you got those massive lats, that actually increases your reach. But like you said, Brady, it's the arm length, you know, that I think would lead anybody who just eyes it to believe that it's going to be Kattar who's going to be the one controlling the distance here, especially when you see the way he works that jab, Brady.
Absolutely. Rob liking that Kattar by finish. We'll talk about those lines as well. Brandon liking that the fight to end. BA saying if you're on Emmett, you should take the decision no bet, which is I think +138, something like that, +140 for the Emmett. Yeah, I mean, if you like Emmett, I think you should take either that or like the Emmett by KO. Emmett by KO is +470.
Yeah, I think that's the best way, or just the decision no bet, I think is another way to look at it because I think he can get finished. But if you're on that Emmett side, you're not really thinking that he's going to go out there and win a couple rounds with wrestling and then win the distance striking battle with Calvin Kattar. I don't think that happens, man. Calvin Kattar's too good of a boxer for that. You just see the way he works his jab. And when somebody has that pretty of a jab, it usually means that all the combinations that are going to be coming behind that jab are even more dangerous. And with Calvin Kattar, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, for sure. Victor did play that 4-5 decision -105. Yeah, I think it's a much better way than laying the -260, I'd say. What's up, Blood Money? How you doing? Awesome. Excellent show, guys. Weezy and Brady are awesome. Appreciate you, Blood Money. You are awesome as well. We got F. Carrillo. What is up? F. Carrillo saying, yo, what is up? Yeah, so let's take a look at some of these other odds, see if there's any other ways to bet this fight. So we have the Kattar by knockout +260. Emmett by knockout is +470. Kattar inside the distance is +185 on Bet Online and +240 on 5 Dimes. Did you see what it was on FanDuel, the Kattar by KO or sub?
Kattar by KO or sub is that will be the double chance. That'll be on the front page. Kattar by KO or sub is +210. So inside the distance on FanDuel is +210.
Okay, so that's better than Bet Online there, but yeah, 5 Dimes does have that +240. Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm kind of tempted on that fight doesn't go there at plus money. I think there's a good chance somebody does get put out here at some point. And by the way, if you guys were here last week, I gave out a Lou bet, we like to call them, where it's the most ridiculous bet that makes no sense whatsoever. And I said the Lou bet for the Yuri Glover fight is Yuri by 5th round submission +6,000 on Bet Online. And Lou didn't even bet it. Like I gave it out just for him, and he didn't even pull the trigger on that. Come on, Lou. I couldn't believe it.
I am right now. I'm going to sort these featherweight 5-round fights for us, Brady, so that we can figure out if we're going to be able to find a little bit of value in these time props here, because that's always a good way to do it. And I've got them sorted right now. And so we have had, and there are 42 of them here, so 43 featherweight fights. And 25 of them have finished inside the distance. So 25 divided by 43 is 58%. So we've got on our prop template here for the main event, we're showing a 43% finish rate for featherweight fights, but those are 3-round fights. So when those get bumped up to 5-round fights, Brady, they go up to 58% finish rates. So an additional 15% here that we get kicked on to that finish rate number. So that's actually a pretty good thing. And then we're going to see that between Kattar and Emmett, they're only finishing 8 of their 20 combined UFC fights. So even at what did we have the fight doesn't go to decision at right now?
Plus 102 on FanDuel.
102 on FanDuel, and the fight goes. What do we got for that?
The fight goes on FanDuel is 1 second, minus 130.
130. So we see a little bit of an edge at 56% implied probability for fight goes, but at the same time, we know that the fight is really only going about 42% of the time. So, God, I don't see much here, man, in terms of fight goes, fight doesn't go. It seems like it's priced just about perfectly.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It definitely is a tricky one. I'm just shocked at the finish numbers by Emmett, though. I feel like they would be like at 90% the way this guy hits, but no, it's only like 48.
Yeah, but like it's when he does hit, like that Lamas knockout, that was scary, and even when he got knocked out by Stevens, that was scary too, because Stevens got some serious power. But both of these guys, when they land, they swarm. But Kattar in particular, that guy, he looks like he looks amped after he hurts you, man. He looks like he really likes hurting people, and he's fucking good at it, dude.
Yeah, and I can see him really putting it on Emmett late in the fight as well, and starting to turn it on there. So, yeah, let's see these round props. I want to see the Kattar late round props here. So we have Kattar wins in round 5 plus 2,200. Kattar wins in round 4 plus 1,800. Kattar wins in round 3 plus 1,400. And then we'll give out another Lou bet here. Josh Emmett by submission in the 5th round is plus 6,000.
Yeah, that's what we got last time on the jury 5th round submission.
I wish I would have.
Or was it 6,600? I forget.
It was like 6,600, something like that. But I wish I would have put like a couple bucks on that jury 5th round sub.
Man, can you imagine hitting a bet like that? I'd almost be embarrassed to say that I bet it.
Yeah, I said it because I thought that was the least likely outcome of the whole entire fight.
It just goes to show you, man, the sport that we're betting on is crazy. Sometimes you're going to lose some bets. Sometimes you're going to go on a bit of a losing streak. You can't take it to heart, man. You got to keep plugging along. You got to keep making good value bets. And over the long term, things will turn your way. But, yeah, man, this is a crazy sport that we bet on. Watch somebody win this one by Gogo Plata.
Could happen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen,
man. And fight ends by KO. Yeah. If you're looking for a way to get a better fight doesn't go to decision line, I think fight ends by KO is cheeky for this one at plus 130. I really don't see Kattar getting a submission. I really don't see Emmett getting a submission. Let's see if any of them. Josh Emmett does have one win by submission over. No, actually, I think. No, it is one. It's one win. That's all right. And Calvin Kattar one win by submission as well. So. Yeah, they can do it, but they've never submitted anybody at the UFC level.
Yeah, fight ends in KO. Brandon was talking about it. Plus 130. See, I don't hate that. Victor saying, does Kattar have any submissions? He has one. And he has how many fights? Like 28?
Well, yeah, he's got 28 fights. Actually, it says 9% by submission, so I think that's actually 2 wins by submission for him and 2 wins by submission for Emmett. But they're before they got to the UFC. And let's look at the guys that Calvin Kattar submitted. He did not get James Jones. It looks like he got Bobby Diaz 5-5 by triangle choke back in the year 2008. Once again, Brady, great year for you. You were about 10. And then we got when Brady had his 9th birthday, we saw Rodrigo Almeida get submitted by a guillotine choke. actually right around your birthday,
Yep,
6/27.
Yep, day after.
You like that? But yeah, so that's how long it's been since Calvin Kattar submitted anybody, and we can just watch his UFC career to know he's not really trying to take you down, other than maybe at the end of a round to win a close round. And we've seen him do that a couple of times. It's good fight IQ that he's shown. He even mixed in the wrestling a little bit against Giga. Great idea in that fight. So Calvin Kattar shows a ton of fight IQ. But yeah, these guys are probably not going to be wrestling each other.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if they did. Jeremiah, what is up? How you doing? We got Mushroom saying smash the like. Rob saying sorry, I'm Canadian. I apologize, but somebody's getting effed up bad, and that is very possible with the way these guys hit. But yeah, I say we talked about the tail of the tape. We talked about the experience. We talked about the finish stats, the striking stats, the grappling stats, the strength of schedule a little bit. I guess all that's left really is your final prediction, Weezy. What's your final prediction? Who are you going with? And then is there a favorite bet you like on this fight?
So I am picking Calvin Kattar to win this one, and I think he's going to win it in the third or fourth round by knockout. And my favorite bet would probably be Calvin Kattar inside the distance. But right now, the five dimes line is by far the best at plus 240, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get it. I'd like to get somewhere around there for that. Otherwise, maybe go for that 4 or 5 decision at right around even money, and then maybe sprinkle a little bit of that third round prop.
Yep. For me, same thing. I like Kattar. I like him a late-ish finish. I think 3, 4, 5 is all very live. My favorite bet though, that's a tough. Like I think the fight doesn't go at plus money is not the worst look in the world. It's plus 115 on 5 dimes, but the fight ends in KO at plus 130. I don't hate. If you're on the Emmett side, like plus 470 by knockout, like that's how he wins. It's just the thing with that is Kattar's never been knocked out before. He's never been knocked down, but there is a first for everything, right? So if you like Emmett, plus 470 by knockout's not the worst look in the world. But yeah, I like Kattar to win. I think he should be the minute winner here. I don't want to lay minus 240 on him, but as far as picking a winner, I am pretty comfortable with picking him here. But if I laid minus 240 on Kattar and had a bet on him, the power would scare the crap out of me for 25 minutes on the Emmett side.
Yeah, especially laying minus 240, right, Brady? I mean, that's when you really kind of have to be sure. And it's impossible to be sure because Emmett's the kind of guy where you could have an opponent stepping into a Josh Emmett fight and you say, well, this guy's never been knocked down before or knocked out before. Well, now you're facing Josh Emmett, and the guy's got bricks for hands. So, I mean, if there's one dude in the featherweight division that could really check Kattar's chin, it's this guy. So, great main event. Gonna be a banger. I think that Brandon's right, though. That fight ends by KO at plus 130 is a great way to play the violence in this spot.
Yeah, let me see something real quick. So, plus 130, that is a 43% implied probability.
Yeah, 43% implied probability, and we know that 58.1% of featherweight 5-round fights finish inside the distance. So that's a 15% edge that we get there over the books. And then we add to the fact that, it's I mean, do we see Emmett or Kattar getting a submission in this spot? Probably not. I mean, if it happens, it happens. And, it's MMA. We're not going to say anything can't happen. Jiri Prochazka just won by 5th-round submission against Glover Teixeira. So don't say things can't happen. But, fight ends by KO. Calvin Kattar inside the distance. Calvin Kattar 4-5 decision, maybe even a 3rd-round sprinkle. That's the way that I'm looking to play this fight.
Yeah, I like that. So the 4-5 decision, the KO. I think I might take a hard look at that fight ends in KO at plus 130 as well. What is up, Mushroom? He's saying Kattar by KO. Kattar in KO rounds 3, 4, and 5. He has the fight, doesn't go to decision, and he has the under 4.5 saying, fuck yeah, we are on the violence. I like it, Mushroom. Mushroom's always on the violence. I like Mushroom a lot. I like my guy Thomas. Even Brandon is liking that violence as well. I like violence, and yeah, Mushroom always brings the violence as well. Any thoughts on any of those, Weezy?
Yeah, I think they're all bettable. Absolutely. I mean, Kattar by KO is always a possibility, the way that dude hits. And his boxing is about as good as it gets for this division unless you're Max Holloway. And even Yair Rodriguez is a fantastic kickboxer. But Calvin Kattar's hands are just fantastic. So yeah, I mean, if I'm on that Emmett, if I'm in that Emmett corner, and he's got some real geniuses with him in that corner, and Danny fucking Castillo, they gave Corey McKenna her game plan. So I mean, you might not be thinking that his corner is going to get the job done for him. It's probably going to be knockout or bust.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. All right, Weezy, we did it. We're about 45 minutes in. Perfect time to cut it off here and get ready for the Die Hard MMA podcast in about 8 minutes. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week for some UFC Austin content.
Yes, for sure. So tonight, 10 o'clock Central Time on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, I will be doing a Balls Deep breakdown. The fight that I'm leaning towards right now is Ismagulov versus Kutateladze. I could also do Marquez Rodriguez. I think that'd be a fun one. Yeah. Oh, and you know what? The Duran Win fight just got canceled, Brady. Just got canceled. Evidently, Duran took a hot shower today, got out of the shower, wasn't feeling great, and then realized he was out of lotion. So we can just, So maybe they'll be able to find Hawes a short notice opponent, but yes, no more Duran Win.
Well, we could have predicted that, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. But I hate to be the bearer of bad news. But the good news is that now I won't do a Balls Deep breakdown on the Hawes Win fight tonight because it's been canceled. So we're gonna do probably Kutateladze because we haven't seen him in a minute, and I gotta try and find the Brave footage on him. So if anybody out there has got the Brave fights for Guram Kutateladze against Da Silva and against Silva, please holler at your Uncle Weezy on Twitter at MMA Weezy. And you can also find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I'll be going live tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time, for Just the Tip with Uncle Weezy. We'll finish with a greasy four-leg parlay and Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Wednesday, I'll be on Pub Sports Radio for the DFS show with you, Brady. And on Thursday, right back here on the MMA Engine YouTube channel for Probability.
Sounds good. Check them out. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. My full card breakdown should be out sometime tomorrow afternoon. And then I'll be back on Pub Sports Radio on Wednesday, back here on the MMA Engine on Thursday for some Probability, and back on the MMA Engine channel on Friday for my live stream. Going to be going live after the weigh-ins as well. So yeah, guys, leave a like on your way out, subscribe, all the good stuff, and best of luck for UFC Austin. Thank you.